Everyone, and welcome to the part 2 of my how-to series. Today we're going to be going over CLS, as I said last time when I was doing the 501st guide. If you haven't watched that, you can still go ahead. It's on the channel. You can go and watch it. Hopefully that one helped you. This one's on CLS, and it's mainly going to be about how to use the team properly against gas, but also against every other team that CLS can counter. So as always, we're going to be going through modding first, and then what the team can beat, and what the team is beaten by. So also this time, since gas is very prominent at the top of my chart, we're actually going to get a battle in, so you guys can see a little bit more how the battle actually works. So first things first, let's get into the modding for this team. The modding is pretty similar to what has been shown before. This is the top row is your team minus R2-D2. He is not that useful in this team. So we're going to start with Commander Luke Skywalker. First things first, this guy needs 2 Zetas. It's his Rebel Maneuvers, his leadership, because it gains you 5% turn meter gain whenever anyone resists the debuff, which is actually quite often because gas has a lot of tenacity. Also, he needs the It Binds All Things, which gives turn meter to everyone, himself and his allies, whenever he inflicts a debuff. I have the Learn Control, but that's from the old days of his meta. You don't need it. It's kind of worthless in this, actually. The bare minimum for him is Relic 3. That's what I've found to work best. Now, what does CLS need in his modding? It is speed, speed, and speed. You want him at 300 speed at the very least. Ideally, you'd want him at around 310, but 300 is like the bare minimum. Anything under that, it's not going to work very well. I prefer offense here, but if you have crit damage, it's fine as well. Honestly, this should probably be offense or potency. The only reason I have protection is that it's the only potency cross that I have that's got high enough speed. But protection kind of makes things difficult because you have to make sure that gas gets guard from Chewie and not 3PO or Old Ben. So the least amount of survivability that you give to your CLS, the better it's actually going to be. Unless you have a Relic 3PO, which is actually very recommended. I'll get to that later. Offense, it's good to have it on him. The more the merrier. I have about 6,000. The more that you have, the better it's going to go for you. Yeah, so that's kind of CLS. His mods aren't very complicated. For Chewie, it's you want to go full out tenacity. R5 is the minimum for his relics. I would recommend at the very least R6 actually, because it just makes him a little bit tankier and a little bit more offense is giving to him by his relics. As for Zetas, you absolutely need both of them. Loyal Friend is going to regen health and protection for CLS and Han Solo, which is absolutely key. And also Raging Wookiee, which is going to make him immune to ability block. That's not really important, but it's going to make him immune to cooldown increases. And gas, whenever he attacks someone and crits them, he's going to increase their cooldowns. So that is huge for this team. As I said, you want to go full tenacity on Chewie, which means tenacity cross, 3 tenacity sets. I went for crit damage. I think it's the best thing to do here. Crit damage on the triangle. Everything else, health or protection, doesn't really matter. If you can make him protection, it's going to make him a little bit more survivable, and the longer Chewie can stick in the game, the better it's going to go for you. Speed-wise, you kind of want him somewhat fast still. I have him at 266. The thing is that he just has to be faster than Han and 3PO, in my opinion. Anything else doesn't really matter. So, but all three of those guys should be over 260 speed, although 3PO does get 20 speed from his unique, so he can be at around 240-ish. So yeah, crit damage, tenacity, you really want to shoot for the 150%. Offense, between 6.5k to 7k, depending on your relic levels. That's kind of what you should be shooting for. Now Han Solo, you really want him at minimum relic 6. Highly recommended to go to relic 7. Of course, you absolutely need his Zeta. It's not going to work if you don't. Mod-wise, it's either crit damage set or offense. I prefer offense, but if you have a better crit damage set, that works just fine. Yeah, you want the crit damage triangle on him, and you definitely want the offense cross. But you really want him very fast, so it has to be an offense set that is still quite speedy. Which, as you can see, I have him at 263 speed. Potency is kind of nice on him, but don't really focus on it if it's going to lose you speed or offense. Offense is very important on Han Solo. You need at the very minimum 8,000 physical damage. 8.5k would actually be even better if you have him at R7. At R7, I think it's pretty easy to get him to 8,500, so that's what I would recommend to shoot for. Next, we have, no, not R2-D2, we have Old Ben. Now, Old Ben, there's two ways to mod him depending on if you have him relict or if you don't. If you have him relict, I would recommend going for actually speed and potency. You want to get his potency high so that he lands his turn meter reduction and his ability blocks from his first mind trick special. If he does not land the turn meter reduction and ability block on Rex, you are kind of screwed. So you want that to land. Mine is gear 12 only, so I have to go for survivability, and it still works very well. So yeah, the main thing you have to focus for Old Ben is that he does not get guard. He cannot get guard from CLS or you're just screwed. Speed at gear 12 doesn't really matter. 200 speed. I wouldn't go lower than that because you still want him to go and remove turn meter before gas goes into cover, or before it's just too late. So 200 speed with his Zeta on his unique, it's actually going to make things good, because every time a rebel ally is going to take damage, he gains 5% turn meter. You absolutely need the Zeta for the additional 2% turn meter gain, and the 20% heal and prot recovery and all that is also good, but it's mainly for that 2% turn meter gain. And the Devoted Protector is a good Zeta to give it to him. I like it, and I will explain why during the battle, but it's not necessary. I know some people do it without it, but I would recommend still giving him that Zeta. So yeah, you want to go full out protection on him, and potency if you have him at like higher relics. Nothing else really matters for him. And last but not least, we have 3PO. For 3PO, you want the actually, you don't really need it, but it's kind of nice having the Zeta. It's good for all the other teams as well, but you actually don't really need any of the Zetas for 3PO. For 3PO, I highly recommend having him at like relic 2 to 4, around that range, because the thing is that if 3PO gets targeted, you're kind of screwed. If you lose 3PO early, you're done for. And having him at somewhat higher relics, rather than gear 12, like me, makes it so that it's harder for him to get taken out early. And therefore, it makes the team more more consistent. So for him, you want to shoot for, again, protection, because you want him to be more survivable than gas. If you have him relict, it's not going to be very hard. So 3PO is a very tanky character, but if you have him at G12, it's a little bit harder, which is my case. I had to really play with his mods to get him like that. He's got like 500 more protection than gas, I think. Not gas, sorry, CLS. Speed-wise, he gets 20 speed from one of his uniques. I think it's this. Yeah, he gets plus 20 speed. So he's actually at 262. Ideally, you would want 3PO to be faster than Han Solo. Mine is actually 1 speed slower, but I'm going to 6E his arrow soon, and he's going to be at 264. That means he's going to go before Han. I'll explain during the battle why you want that. Anything else? Yeah, potency is the other important stat for 3PO. You really want to try to get him at around 100% potency, so he lands those confuses and those exposes. More importantly, a lot of your damage is going to come from those exposes, so the more that you can land, the better off you're going to be. So now that we've gone through the mods, let's discuss a few teams that CLS can beat. Actually, CLS is a very good offensive team. I would never recommend putting them on defense for anything. CLS can beat a lot of teams. It can beat the 501st, as we've shown, and we're going to watch the battle. He can easily beat bounty hunters, especially the Django lead, where Jedi Training Ray kind of struggles when they're modded a bit faster. CLS can take good care of those. Droids, he kind of struggles because of GG's leadership, which makes him not being able to counter. But if it's a droid team with maybe a Newt lead, CLS is going to do very well. Empire teams are not very prominent in today's game, but he can beat those. He can beat Ewoks, of course. First Order is actually a faction that CLS kind of struggles with, and it's all got to do with crew, because crew gains so much health and protection recovery, and because CLS's team does so many debuffs, it's actually very hard to kill crew under CLS. So I would not recommend using CLS against crew if he is high relic and you are not. Galactic Republic is actually kind of rough for CLS. He can win, but it's very, very difficult. So I would not recommend it unless you out-relic your opponent by a long shoot. He can beat Geonosians. It's kind of rough as well, depending on how relic the Geo team is. You really have to have 3PO in there for this one, and just focus on GBA as much as you can, and try to get him out super quick, or you're just screwed. As soon as the Geo team starts taking turns, you're just done for, if you haven't taken out GBA before that. Jedi, he actually can beat Jedi Knight Revan teams with the way with the modding I explained before for gas. He can actually beat higher relic JKR teams very easily. It's a special way to go about the battle. If you guys want, I can try and make you a video whenever I get the chance to fight a JKR team. Just let me know and I'll make that video for you guys. He can beat Night Sisters, but again, Night Sisters are very strong, and the Plague really screws with CLS's team, so I would not recommend using it against Night Sisters, like I wouldn't recommend using against Padme teams. I do recommend using him against Jedi. He is very good at that. He's actually become my main Jedi counter in GAC if my opponent does not set his gas on defense. Every other team, he can easily beat it, except Sith Empire. Sith Empire, a big struggle for them, especially because of Corrupted Battle Meditation that reduces counter chance by 60% for the whole team, so they can't actually counter a lot. So yeah, that's kind of the teams that he can beat. He can actually beat new teams as well. Even if they have Nest, a lot of people have problems beating Nest with CLS. There is a specific strategy to go about when fighting Nests. It gets easier and easier the higher relic that your CLS team is, but it's still something that you have to keep in mind when fighting Nest teams. So if you want me to make a guide about that, I'll be also happy to make that one for you guys. As to what can beat CLS, there's a lot of teams that can beat him. He can be beaten by Padme, by JKR, by Sith Empire, of course, by GG and has droids. He can be beaten by Gas, of course, although it's actually a pretty rough battle. There's a CLS at the top of my chart. He's a guy from he's testing stuff, and I've actually fought a CLS team with Gas. It's kind of rough. Actually, if they get the right RNG, you can get in a tough spot. You're still going to win easily, but it can get dicey a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of what can beat CLS. He's not a super strong defensive team, so I would not recommend putting him on defense. But as we discussed, he can beat pretty much every team in the game except Padme and Sith Empire. So he's an amazing offensive asset. Without further ado, let's get into the battle for Gas. I don't want to attack this guy because he hasn't had his payout yet. Where's 6? Come on. Okay, 6. So we're going to go into battle against this team. I know it's not a full R7 team, but it's still going to work just fine, even if it's an R7 team. So this is our team. The strategy has actually changed a little bit since last time because of Gas getting his buff to his counter. You're still going to shoot first on Gas. He's going to counter. That's perfectly fine. And now the thing is that what you want to do is do this move again, but instead of using it on Gas, you're going to actually use it on Rex. That was not ideal. We kind of want to use him, to have him remove Turn Meter from Rex. I actually might lose this now. Yeah, because they focused Old Ben, so now I'm going to lose this battle. Yeah, there's the RNG where you don't want him to attack Old Ben because other people have to get attacked for him to get Turn Meter, so if they don't, it's kind of not going to work. So we're going to forfeit, and I'll refresh and do another battle, and hopefully that works better for this fight. So try 2. Alright, shoot first on Gas. Hopefully CLS can remove the Turn Meter, or at the very least, Old Ben is not going to be attacked. So he can gain his Turn Meter. Okay, we got the Turn Meter reduction here on Rex. That is perfect. Now, we're going to do that. We got the ability block and a second Turn Meter reduction on Rex, which is perfect. Now, here I kind of like to do Chewie's AoE to get some more protection region and also get offense up on him for when we're going to be attacking 5s after Gas goes into cover. Now, usually Gas would not go into cover with that attack. He is generally tanky enough where you would need another attack, and that would be 3PO's Mass Assist. You want the team modded so that 3PO is the one that puts Gas down, so that way he can't counter, because you're going to be putting him into cover with an assist, and if it's an assist, he can't counter that. So that's the way that I have found that actually makes it so you avoid getting countered by Gas. Now I'm going to put this on Han to get him to assist twice and get hopefully 2 exposes. This should get gas down. It didn't. This is annoying. But, okay, we did it. Yeah, I always go for Rex next. So yeah, then you go after Arc. One thing that is probably going to happen here, okay, it didn't because this guy's Arc was actually a little slower than what I thought it would be. But one thing that usually happens is that Arc does get a turn, and this is where Old Ben's Devoted Protector Zeta comes in very handy, because had he taken a turn here, he would have stripped Old Ben's taunt, and Gas, once he got out of cover, well, he would have been able to attack anyone. But with the Devoted Protector Zeta, even if Arc had gotten a turn here, Old Ben would have regained his taunt for one more turn, which means that Gas would have had to still attack Old Ben. And that is something you need. You absolutely need Gas to attack Old Ben once he comes out of cover. Now, we got lucky here. Maichui was actually faster, so we can stun his Arc. I'm actually going to use this here to reduce the turn meter on Echo. He's going to kill Old Ben. That's almost always going to happen. But now we have the offense up. We got the protection and health regen, so we're in a good place. And we want to get Gas down as quickly as possible. Now, that is not ideal because Han is going to get countered twice here. But we can still do with it. Again, I did the AoE to get more protection and health regen for Han and CLS. And another thing that you want to keep in mind here is that for the second time the Gas is going to be coming out of cover, you want CLS to be in his defensive mode, so you don't want him to have the call to action buff. So that's what we're going to have. And this is the reason why you don't want CLS to have call to action, because when he has call to action, he has a 50% less counter chance, so he maybe would not have countered Gas twice and put him into stun. Now this is going to be way easier for me to get him down. So there was a few pieces of strategy. There's still some RNG with it. It gets way better with relics on Old Ben and 3PO, so if you have the resources for those, it's highly recommended that you use them. But if you don't, as I showed you here, Gear 12 on those two guys can still work just fine. So hopefully that helped you guys. Let me know what team you want to do next. I don't really have a plan for the next one, so just let me know what you want to see, and I'll do that for you. And until next time.